A lot of Joe Burrow's teammates have talked about his increased velocity this offseason. Have you noticed any improvements from him?
Yeah, I've noticed quite a bit of improvement across the board, not just velocity. He spent a lot of time looking at the things that he wanted to get better at from the season, both mentally and physically, and I think he's done that over the course of the offseason program. He's had a goal in mind of how he wanted to change his throwing motion and mechanics. I shouldn't say motion, but some of his footwork and stance and how he's going to get some more velocity on the ball and all those things. And I think he's done that. And so I have noticed it. He's throwing the ball with a little more velocity. It's allowing him maybe to hang on to the ball an extra split second and be able to fit into a window a little bit later than he did a year ago. So I think all those things are positive. Obviously it's easy to do in 7-on-7 with no rush and all that, but all the things that he's worked on have been really positive. I'm excited about where he's headed, and I'll get to put it all together here when we come back in about a month.
Coach, what about his connection with JaMarr? It looks like JaMarr is kind of everything you guys expected. And where's the connection there, do you think? And what do you expect from Chase?
Yeah, they definitely, you can tell they played together. Just like you see with Joe now and TB and T after a year of time together playing. They communicate clearly. They know what's expected on routes, and Joe sees their body language. He sees their placement on their leverage and all the things that go along with reading a receiver. And the cool thing is that Joe's done that with JaMarr for 2 years. And this is the third year of doing it. So they got a good rapport. You can see it and feel it. They know how to communicate with each other. And I think that that's exciting for me is, they don't need to really get to know each other. They do know each other and all the things that Joe expects from a receiver. And there's a transition, obviously, part of that too. Avi, some of the routes are a little bit different. There's a little more volume probably than JaMarr was used to. And then Joe's also a year wiser for his NFL experience. And so I think he's going to help bring him along in that regard too, that there is differences here. The coverages tend to be a little bit tighter. They're more varied, and you get a bunch of different types of players you go play against outside. So there'll be a little bit of a learning curve, sure. I'm sure for JaMarr in some degree, but as far as his rapport with Joe, it's very clear that they've got a great relationship with each other and a good understanding of what's expected of each other.
Brian, I think Joe surprised a lot of us with all he was able to do over the past several weeks, considering when his injury happened. Did you get about as much out of him during OTAs and the mandatory camp as you could have hoped for?
Yeah. We weren't sure. I know Zach's touched on it before, but we weren't sure what it would look like. I kind of stayed in touch with, his rehab process and with Nick Cosgray and those guys down in the strength room and just checking in every couple of days, see how he's doing. So I was optimistic that he'd be pretty well involved and would be able to get some work in. I didn't know what that meant and how much. I wouldn't say I was surprised. Nothing that Joe does at this point surprises me. I think he's earned that right now that, everything he does is going to be at a pace and a manner in which is more than normal. So I wasn't surprised. I was just happy we got a chance to get out there with him. And more so, he was able to get out with his teammates and be able to communicate and talk in the huddle and call plays and just be in the locker room with the guys actively participating. I think that goes a long way.
Coach, when you look at JaMarr Chase's athletic ability and what he can do, is he giving you an opportunity to use more of your playbook, or is he giving you the opportunity to add to the playbook?
Probably both. I know it's not the great answer, but yeah, probably both. I mean, he has a unique skill set as a player. His physical dimensions are unique. He's not a big and tall guy. He's only a 6'1", but he has got real strength and real play strength and real explosiveness. And so he's a detailed route runner. He's got great way to get in and out of his cuts. He can navigate a lot of different things, and just his play strength is the one that stands out the most. But he's got the ability to play inside because of it. He's got quickness, and that play strength allows him to kind of go mix it up in the formation. So he can be used a lot of different ways. I'm excited to unlock his potential for him and for our offense.
How have you seen him grow over the past couple of weeks during OTAs and minicamp?
I've just been impressed by his professionalism. He came in with he was in great shape. He was everything you'd expect from a guy that you took where we took him in the draft. And then mentally, he works at it. He doesn't say a lot, and he just goes. And he does all the things that are required of a receiver at this level to have success. And I think that'll keep his learning curve ultimately not very steep. I think he'll fit right in and play like any NFL receiver is expected to play. And so I think that he's really been impressive in that regard, just as far as his ability to pick it up quickly mentally and then physically being able to translate those things on the field, which is a luxury we didn't have last year, to be able to actually see a guy learn, take it to the field, and be able to execute what's being asked. So it's been fun to watch.
Joe mentioned, Coach, that one of his goals was to see it quicker and deliver it, quicker and do everything at a more rapid pace. He always has had answers to the test, but he wants to have the answers, I guess, sooner. Have you seen that he's progressing in that area? I mean, obviously 7-on-7, you've done that. You did that some and throwing on air. It's hard, I guess, to evaluate at this stage, but do you think he's progressing in the way that he wants to in that regard?
Absolutely. I think what's good for Joe is, he got a chance to kind of try out some new things as you finish your first season. There's a lot of learning that goes on, as you well know, that things that you didn't even know you didn't know. And
right.
he's definitely taken a very, very measured approach to how and what he wants to get better at, and he has. And we'll see the fruition of it when it comes time to play, and we still got plenty of time before then. So to see him attack the offseason in that manner, from the mental side of it, was fun to watch. He's always asked the right questions, but now he's got experience behind those questions, and so the things that he's improved upon, again, I think we'll see come to fruition over the course of training camp and into the season. But I've really been impressed with the amount of detail he's had to his offseason and the things that he wanted to get better at and how he wanted to do it.
Brian, what have you seen from T. Higgins? Because Joe said yesterday he expects a pretty big year from him going into year number 2, not only Joe being a second-year NFL player, but T as well. And how, with what you've been able to add on offense, how big of a role could T play?
T's going to play a huge role. I think he's got every trait to be a top-level receiver in this league. Obviously, a great rookie year and a great start to his career so far. The key is going to be to take the sophomore jump instead of having a sophomore slump, But I think what's been unique about T's is in the same manner that Joe had the experience. Now, T's had a year of playing against NFL DBs and playing the grind of a regular season and the kind of shape you have to be in and the kind of strength you have to sustain over the course of 16 games plus a training camp. And he came back strong. He looks great physically. He put a lot of work in the offseason between the time we ended the season until the time he came back. To change his body, he's more explosive. I mean, went back and watched some stuff the other day and look at his routes on air right now. He's markedly more explosive and it's not necessarily that he's gotten faster or that he's a different type of player. It's just that he's understanding how to bring those skills into practice every single day, the consistency that it requires to improve the speed at which you have to play all the time. That when you're a young player, you kind of find your way through. I think he's found that. And now he knows what it takes to get to the next level of his game. And he put all the work in to do it. I'm very, very excited about where he's at and where he's headed. And he's going to be a problem for defenses. They got to deal with him and JaMarr. Those are two really good players on the outside that possess all the requisite skills to go win one-on-one.
Speaking of that, Brian, I mean, you only got one ball.
Mm-hmm.
You got Mixon back there. I know it's too early to say this guy gets that and this guy gets that. That's obviously ridiculous. But how do you look at is he just a point guard and he's just who's ever open is?
For the most part, I think that all the really good quarterbacks function in that manner, where they just distribute the ball and they get the ball to the guys that are open in the scheme. And we have lots of ways to get guys the ball, get guys open. There's plenty of touches to go around. And ideally, if you're really, really humming on offense, you're going to get a bunch of possessions and a bunch of plays run. And so there's going to be opportunity all around. And the good thing is that maybe if a guy doesn't have a good game one game, he has the next week he has a big game. And so I think it's kind of a long range view. It's one of those things that you look at the end of the season and you see how it all got distributed. But we're going to throw it to the open player, and we got a bunch of good ones we think that can get open. We'll find ways to put guys in position to go win matchups. Find ways to get guys in the formation where they cause a problem for a defense. And at the end of the day, the quarterback's going to go through his reads and his progressions and find the guy that's open.
We've talked a lot about your passing game. We haven't talked anything about your running game. Is there an effort to try to improve in that department? This offseason, you guys have struggled to run the football the last few seasons.
Yeah, it's been a major focus for us. Hard to get a lot of running game work in the manner that we have our OTAs set up. It's been more about with Frank coming in, new techniques for those guys, new maybe not new for some of them, they were with him before, but just the hand placement, the technique, the communication, those things are a part of it. But the real work in the run game comes when the pads come on in training camp. But yeah, I mean, we've, as a coaching staff, we've spent a ton of time on the run game. We've made our fair share of adjustments and changes to things that we think will improve it. Having Joe healthy for a full season will help too. He was on a good pace last year while he was healthy. And he's a defenses don't like playing against him because he's big and strong and he's hard to tackle. And I think that having that guy back there with the ball makes the run game better, just having him back there. But I do think that the run game is a huge emphasis for us. I don't know that we're necessarily going to have to lead the league in rushing, but we got to be a whole lot better than we've been. It'll create better balance. It'll keep us on schedule more. It'll open up more of the playbook when it comes to, when you get into more manageable situations and you're in 2nd and 4, 5, and 6, and you kind of have all the playbook at your disposal with the play actions and the screens, and the run game and the drop back game. You start getting in 2nd and 9, 10, 11. Now you're pigeonholing yourself in the mostly drop back pass world. So the running game only can help all of it, really. So not a real big focus in the spring. It's been more of a passing camp type mentality because of the rules in place and the limited teamwork. But the training camp will be a heavy run emphasis for us.
Two more questions. Sticking with that area, what have you seen from Chris Evans and Puka Williams? I know you probably haven't seen a ton, but what have you seen and what are your expectations for them between now and camp?
Just to keep progressing and be ready when it comes time to play. Those guys are going to be in a spot now where they're going to get some preseason reps, and you're going to be able to see them play against competition with pads on and live tackling. It's really hard to get a feel for running backs any other time outside of that, because their value comes when they can break tackles and make people miss when they're really trying to bring them down. So the preseason games will be really big for those guys. As far as their skills, Chris has got really natural hands. I've never been around running backs like him that catch so naturally. He's well put together physically. I'll be fun to watch him run the ball, I think, when you actually have pads on. And Puka's got legitimate speed and quickness. And he's got some unique skills that could translate to some other things for us. So just kind of see those guys in pads is the most important. But excited about them. I think those guys both have arrow up trajectory on where they could be come September.
Last one.
Following up on Frank, you've been around some great offensive line coaches between your dad and some of the staffs that you've been on. Has anything about him caught your eye or caught your ear so far?
I love watching Frank do his individual stuff. I think he's a great technician. He's a great teacher, and being able to watch him and hear him, he's demanding. There is a standard that is expected to be met, and the way that he interacts with those players, the players love playing for him too. I think they've been excited about it, even though it's not an easy task. Going to practice with Frank every day isn't easy for those guys. He works them hard. And it's not necessarily always fun, but they respond well to it. And I think his detail is outstanding, and he's got a great energy. But I think the biggest thing is he's got a great expectation for where he wants this unit to be come September. And I think he's pushing them and grinding them to get them there. And I think they've all responded well to it. But Frank's is an excellent coach. I'm really happy that he's here with us.